Welcome to this here video on using getline. So in this video we're going to recap the problem we're facing, then we'll talk about why getline is a useful method here, then we'll talk about where to find documentation and where to look up solutions to problems, and then we'll solve it. Okay, so as a recap, the problem we've got is that if we put in a multi-word guess, that it is wrongly consuming the text. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Well, there's a method called getline. So a word on why getline is useful here. It will read through any spaces by default, which is useful for us. It will discard the input stream once it reaches the new line character, which is just what we want. When we hit return, we want it to consume all the way up to the enter, the new line, the return, whatever you want to call it, and then discard everything else. And you can read about it by searching for getline at www.c++.com. How, firstly, would you even find out about something like that for yourself? Before I just present you with a solution, how would you do it? Well, you'd do some Google searches, right? Would be the best starting point. But this actually is a non-obvious solution. If you search for, well, what would you search for? It's always about asking the right question. So, I don't know, you could try something like cin not working right C++ might be the type of query you might make at this stage, and you see a couple of things, that one there, maybe open the second one. Stack Overflow is a good resource in general, especially highly voted answers that are voted by people with good reputations. So that's one good place to get it from, but sometimes it's just a slightly non-obvious solution and you need to just take a course like this or read a book. Okay, so that's a note on how you do it. So getline, what is this getline thing? Well, for simplicity, I'm going to delete this duplicate code because I just can't see the wood for the trees like this. This, by the way, is why we don't repeat code. It's really confusing. So I'm going to get rid of the repeat for the moment. We'll put it back to test in a minute. And it's this cin line that needs to change. So I'm going to get rid of it. It doesn't work. Getline is the method. As soon as I open the brackets, then I start to get some basic information about how it might work. But this is really hard to read in here. There's lots of different what we call signatures, lots of different options for what parameters we pass in, but it's not very easy to read this. So there's a better way of getting the documentation, and that better way is just to type getline C++. Oh, well, there it is. And you go to c++.com. Make sure you're on C++ 11. This stuff here, you'll get your eye in for this later, but for right now, your best bet is probably to look at the example code and see if that makes sense. So given this line of example code I've highlighted, you've guessed it, here's my challenge. I want you to fix the input problem. Replace both cin lines, or in this case, we're going to put one back in using this new getline method, and then we're going to duplicate our code again. And then test that Donkey Kong is accepted as a guess and that you can input a second guess afterwards. So pause the video, see if you can work out how to use cin using that piece of example code, and I will see you when you've had a good go at it. Okay, welcome back. So if you look at this example, it's saying std : getline. Well, we don't need the std, so we can just go getline. And then it says cin, effectively, if we ignore the std bit, because we're using namespace std, comma name. And name is the name of a string variable. So we just need to modify that a bit for our code. So this is how we do it. Getline. Cin is where we're getting it from. Guess is where we're putting it to. Okay, so before we duplicate anything, let's just check that that line works there. So I'm going to run the code and just put in, say, Donkey Kong. Now, we're not going to know right now, right, because we haven't asked a second time. So now let's go ahead and duplicate our code again. Now, let me show you this error with string, by the way. If you try and compile now, leaving your redeclaration of string here, let's see what happens. It says, would you like to run the last successful build? Well, no, because I want to know what's wrong now. What's wrong? Well, look, if we look at the error stream, it's not particularly obvious what's going on. Illegal for class access. At least here you get guess, redefinition, multiple initialization. So it does tell you a useful error. So we remove that line, run our code, Donkey Kong. I'm missing an N, aren't I? Oh, your guess was Donkey Kong. Cool. Works. Brilliant. So we've achieved what we wanted to achieve in this video. I'm going to leave two sets of input in here like this. I think I'm just going to remove some spaces just so that, because visually this is horrible right now. Repeat the guess back to them. No, you see, I'm trying to group the things by spacing. So let's do that. And then, of course, we're going to sort all this out with functions and stuff in a moment. Okay, that's how I'm going to leave my code because it's somewhat clearer what's going on. And fantastic. I'll see you in the next video.